The ball made its way along the three-quarter line until it reached me. 10 yards out from the try line, the haze came down, the zone. The crowd disappeared, the noise went quiet. I ran as fast as I could. When everything cleared, I was over the try line, so went down to touch a try. And after the game, I was in the clubhouse. A friend was by the window with 4 to 5 girls and invited me over. And through the conversations, there was one particular girl I seemed to like, and we got together and we spent 3 to 4 months going out with each other until one weekend, and she invited me down to meet her parents in London. We went down and had a meal, and then she took me out to an open air concert. The orchestra was on an island surrounded by water. The crowd were on the banks eating hampers, a picnic. And through the afternoon, the music filled the air until the sky darkened and the stars came out. And the final music was the 1812 overture. Cannons boomed, rockets lit the sky, and the stars were there. We drove home. And as I arrived, she turned to me and looked me in the eyes and told me that she was leaving for Israel that Monday. She brought me down as a thank you for the months we'd been together. Now, I didn't even know she was Jewish. But the more she talked, the more I thought that Israel sounded like an adventure, a voyage. So I went home and packed my job in and told my landlord that I was going to leave and go to Israel, and I connected with the kibbutz office in London. Now, on the Monday, my girlfriend went out to her kibbutz in the north. And on the following Saturday, after my last game of rugby, we went out for a celebration. And at one stage, the barman turned. He looked at me and said, "What about the war?" You see, the Yom Kippur War broke out that Saturday. Now, I'd been out all day and heard nothing about it. On the Sunday, the kibbutz office rang to ask if I still intended to go. Now, I lost my job. I told my landlord I was leaving, so I decided, what an adventure. Yes, I'll go. And so it was that I found myself at Heathrow Airport, booked on to a flight to Tel Aviv with El Al, along with 30 to 40 other people. And as I sat in the seat, remember that point where you're looking for someone to sit next to you, maybe a pretty young girl. As it was quite a fat man. And through the conversations, he told me that he was a reporter going to cover the war and that all the whiskies were on expenses. So we had quite a conversation. And then we arrived above Tel Aviv airport. I say above because it was in dark. There was a blackout. The plane descended. We hit the tarmac and the door swung open, and in came an Israeli guard with an Uzi over his shoulder. He ushered us out into what looked like a shed, a warehouse, where people were standing with signs from various kibbutz. And I joined Kibbutz Grofit. Now, what I hadn't done when I was told that this was to be my kibbutz was check where it was. I knew that my girlfriend had gone to the north. And when I checked, Grofit was in the Negev desert, 30 kilometers north of Eilat in the south. As it turned out, I was only ever to see that girl once more. But outside of the airport, we got onto a coach and started the drive through Tel Aviv, the cafes and that aroma of coffee and haze that surrounds a hot country at night. And then from the outskirts, it was one road to Beersheba, a transport stop to pick people up. But when we arrived at Beersheba, it was obviously dark and shadows were moving between buildings. And we only stayed 5 minutes. No one was there. So we started back on our journey to Grofit. And the journey was on one road through the desert. It was night, so we saw nothing. And all the young people on the coach going to Grofit were talking about where they'd come from and their excitement at going to a kibbutz. No talk of war, no fear. We were 21. It was exciting. And then we slept until the coach veered off, turned left, and started to zigzag upwards until we arrived at Kibbutz Grofit atop a hill in the middle of the Negev desert. And for the next 6 months, we picked melons and onions and eggs. And we were told that the war was in the north. We were bordered by the Jordanians, who were pretty peaceful. The Egyptians had been stopped in the Sinai desert. And so for 6 months, I had a great time. There was just one morning where the guard knocked onto the door and told us all to get to the air raid shelters. There'd been information that the Jordanians had brought guns up to the border. And so we were in the shelter at 4 o'clock in the morning. And 5, we were reading and playing cards. 6, 7, until a guard came in and told us that it was all clear. I say that I was in a war zone. And it was, because every so often, the young people we replaced on the kibbutz came home on leave. I've been around 20 to 21-year-olds, but these were different. These were 20, 21, 22-year-olds who had been to the front. There was a look in their eyes. And it was a look that said, don't ask me what I've seen. We didn't. And life went on. We let life go on as they left and came. And fortunately for kibbutz, we only had one fatality. So there we are. What about the war? What about the adventure? What about the voyage? Take care.